officially, I'm a #2 New York Times bestseller, which doesn't look as cool on the cover as a #1 New York Times bestseller. So they won't let me put that up there. I've been in the business for a really long time. I worked as a book doctor and a ghostwriter. I did that for a little over 2 decades while I was in the corporate world before finally striking out on my own. I had basically written memoirs. I helped a lot of people finish up their fiction projects. And over those 2 decades, I had 6 different books that I had written basically hit the New York Times list, but came out with other people's names on the cover, which gets very old after a while. And that's basically what spurred me on to start writing on my own.
So, what exactly is a book doctor?
A book doctor. So I kind of fell into this career when I was in college. I worked for BMG Distribution, and which is a division of RCA Records, and I used to interview a lot of celebrities. And when you work for like with newspapers and magazines, you quickly realize everybody's got a book at some stage of development in a desk drawer somewhere. It's they've been working on it for the last 10 years. It's 400,000 words long. It's almost done, but they feel like it needs a little something. Like I was the guy they would give those to initially just to help with grammar and punctuation. But then I started getting more heavily involved in developmental edits and kind of helping them shape the story. And then at one point, I took over some of those projects and actually rewrote them. And it just basically became this career as a book doctor. So I did that for friends that I worked with in the publishing industry for years. And then word of that spread to agents and to editors. So I started getting phone calls. So an agent would pick up a manuscript that they absolutely loved, but they couldn't get an editor to buy it, for particular reasons. This person can't write dialogue very well, too much exposition, too much this, too much that. And a lot of times, a first time author is just too close to the project to go in there with a knife and really start hacking away. So I was brought in as a hired gun. And the funny thing is, like, in today's world, I've got my own editors. And whenever they call me about, if there's some type of problem in a book, they tend to sugarcoat everything. They always start the phone call with, 2 or 3 things they love about the book. Then they tell you that one thing that they absolutely need to fix. And then they finish up the phone call with a couple more things that they love about the book. So they try to pad it a little bit. But when you're brought in as a hired gun to fix somebody else's book, they don't sugarcoat anything. They tell me everything that's wrong with that book, what needs to be fixed, and they're just very, very clear and concise on it. So I did that for 2 decades, and I think just getting that advice, or hearing that from editors, basically helped me understand what the folks in New York were really looking for in a mass market best-selling novel. So I've just incorporated a lot of that knowledge over the years, and now it's part of my writing process.